In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern. And again, I mean, the pattern has basically stayed consistent. I feel like I'm saying the same thing every day, but basically through the midway point and even beyond, it's going to be much warmer than normal for the central and the eastern states. But that's not going to be true for every single day. There will be colder days in there as we're going to see plenty of cold fronts come through. And there will be some snowfall opportunities, but I'm not going to lie, it does look a little bit less optimistic than even in yesterday's video for that, at least for the eastern states. I still feel like the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes will have some threats to watch for with some of our major low pressure systems in the plains and in the Midwest. So it's definitely going to be something to watch. The West is going to be really cold, really snowy, and persistently stormy. Now, before we dive into things, be sure to check out my vlog. Again, I've been telling you guys every single day, but it means so much to me. I'm trying to grow that channel. It's just been absolutely awesome kind of making home video style videos over there. Also weather related, as we had a massive snowstorm in that vlog, 12 plus inches. There was a windstorm in there. There's going to be an even better one for the next vlog. I already filmed it yesterday, but we had some pretty crazy thunderstorms yesterday that I got on footage. So there is more cool videos coming up. So be sure to subscribe over there. Just liking the video and leaving a comment, watching it means the world to me. So if you guys have time, be sure to check that out in the top right corner of your screen, description, and the pinned comment down below. And I appreciate that so much. So thank you guys for all of you that have already done that. Let's go ahead and check out the weather now. We see that this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. It's from yesterday. These come out later in the evening, so I always do the one from the day prior. But we do see March 11th through 15th is when this runs through, and we do see those pretty cold temperatures over the west here. We call this a negative PNA, and oftentimes this actually forces the warmth up into the central and the eastern states like we see happening here. The heart of the warmth, so the best chance of warmth is going to be this swath kind of running from parts of the plains through into like the southern Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley here, and then parts of the northern southeast and mid-Atlantic here. That is the heart of the warmth from the 11th through the 15th, and I suspect that we are going to have plenty of upper 60s and even 70s, maybe for some of these southern areas. Maybe your first 80s can't be ruled out, so we're going to start to warm up in a big way here as spring gets off to a very, very early start. Looking at the precipitation, this is going to lead to more activity. Obviously, we see the warmth and humidity that is going to spark up some thunderstorm chances. As our lows initially move over the west, all of them pretty much do, and even some of them don't move eastward, they move kind of up. So we get a ton of precipitation in the west. They kind of meander into the southern plains oftentimes, or central plains here. And this is when they start to bring severe weather. And then what we're seeing a lot of is kind of the lows moving northward from that point. And you might be wondering, why is there so much precipitation to the south of there then? And it's really because we start to develop a cold front oftentimes along a lot of these, and it's going to bring thunderstorms and showers along it, bringing that precipitation. So that's kind of how I see this time frame. As we look to the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, this will run from the 13th through the 19th of March. We see this continued negative PNA look out west. We see some of the continued warmth. What's funny is we really see it more exclusively for the south, as you can see. Still the heart of it, kind of over that mid-Atlantic and southeast area. But your lows, like I said, are going to be moving through kind of this area. So we really get cold to the north. And this will be a time frame where we're watching for the snowfall opportunities in these areas, especially when they're colder. Northern plains, upper Midwest, northern Great Lakes, we'll be watching for that. And then these cold fronts stretching through these warm areas is going to bring about those thunderstorm chances. Speaking of thunderstorm chances, we do see a pretty large area of above average precipitation in the east here, the north central states, whereas the south central states are below normal. And then still the west looks really far above normal. So we're going to continue to see that type of activity. Here's the past 5 days of weather and temperatures, and we can see that this is going to be basically from later on the 1st through into the 6th. And this is your meteorological spring so far. Meteorological spring starts on March 1st, and we can see there has been cooler temperatures in here at times. We've also seen some very warm days, so it leads to about average. We see along this southwest coast, we've had below average temperatures, and for a lot of those central states, up the Rockies and northwestern states, this is where the heart of your warmth has been so far. We're going to see a big shift as this warm area is going to shift primarily eastward, and we're going to see more of this cold expand for more of the west, including the northwest over time. That's kind of how we see the motion of things moving as we transition towards the midway point of the month and beyond. Let's take a look here at the European model, and we actually do have one of these pretty major western low pressure systems going already. Somewhere between Wyoming and Utah, there's a 991, which is relatively strong, and this is leading to widespread snowfall throughout many of your mountains out west, throughout the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada here, the Cascades, a little drier, but a lot of your mountains out west seeing snowfall. We do have a colder day here in the east today because of that cold front that came through behind that major low. But within a couple of days, we are going to see it warm back up overall. So let's take a look at that. As we transition towards tomorrow on Friday the 7th, we already see that this low that was over the Rockies is now over Missouri. This is starting to lift some of this warmth back into the southeastern corridor, and it is moving northward. And we're starting to see some cooling behind that major low, which is all very, very typical stuff. We don't have any sort of high precipitation cold front here, so that's kind of not really a thing with this storm. We're mostly seeing some activity along that warm front area into the north of the low, coming in the form of both snowfall and rainfall, perhaps mixed for some of these areas for the day tomorrow. As we take a look at Saturday on the 8th, this is when we get some interesting weather. It's still kind of a battle between the cold and the warmth as this warmth is pushing up and this cold is pushing down. No clear winter yet. It's kind of meeting in the middle. We do see this storm system to the deep south, and we've been talking about this one for a while. There will be a thunderstorm threatened here, maybe even a little bit of severe weather, as we do have a marginal risk of severe weather with this one. But obviously, I do not expect a major severe weather event out of this, or really much in the way of anything major out of this. It's going to be a pretty typical storm, not for this time of year. It is a little bit ahead of schedule to see storms like this moving through so frequently, but it's not going to be anything that's going to be crazy. As we take a look at Monday on the 10th of March, we can see that there is beginning to be a warm lift here throughout the central states and the eastern states as this boundary between the cold and warmth is pushed further northward. So expect by early next week, we're going to be warming overall. And as we take a look at Tuesday on the 11th, we're much warmer as well. We've started to cool a little bit here in the west, and it kind of ascends as we head eastward. This is when we're going to start to talk about 60s, 70s, and 80s, depending on your exact location, as we get a really, really warm air mass in place here. We do see some storminess out west, but nothing crazy yet, like we mentioned. As we take a look at Wednesday, things do start to get crazy. Still very warm here in the east. Your jet stream is way off to the north. So, 60s, 70s, 80s here is a good way to look at it. It's going to be warmer than normal, pretty much no matter where you're at up there. Out west, we do see a massive storm system bringing snowfall initially to the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and some of the Rockies. And for the lower and coastal areas, we are seeing really, really significant rainfall out there in the west as well. So a more active time frame overall. Thursday here on March 13th, what we see is this trough in the west behind this low really starts to get going. This should actually accelerate the warmth here throughout the east. This is going to force it even further northward. Your low is located right here. We do see some storms out here in these kind of eastern areas throughout some of your Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley as well. By Thursday the 13th, definitely going to be a thunderstorm threat. I don't know the extent of the severe weather threat with this one yet, as it is like 6-7 days out, but we do know that this would bring the opportunity for thunderstorms, as again, those temperatures 60s, 70s, 80s here. As we take a look at Friday, that storm passes through, and then we start to get our next very, very major one by Friday the 14th here. 974 over Nebraska. That is a very intense low. We see a warm front out ahead here, and this is just really surging the warmth in. It's pulling it up. And we begin to see an extended cold front, which is a lot of what we saw with our previous severe weather event. So something like this is what we're seeing. And this would instantly present itself as a severe weather threat throughout these areas for Friday afternoon on the 14th. We also see dramatic snowfall to the west of this low, as a 974 is very intense for this time of year and that location overall. So this one will be another huge potential for severe weather, unfortunately. The northwest is actually getting a separate low, which is now moving on shore, bringing some snowfall out there as well by Friday. As we keep going towards Saturday afternoon, this low moves generally like northeastward towards Minnesota here. We're starting to get this snowfall for the northern plains in Canada. We have seen trends of this low moving in further south. This would kind of enable more areas to see snowfall. So at the 9 to 10 day range, we definitely have wiggle room with that. It could trend south, north, so we'll have to wait and see. But we continue to see a chance of severe weather and thunderstorms in this area. As that low gets further away, I think that overall will lessen the chance of severe weather. But certainly with this much precipitation in this rich of an environment, we're going to be seeing a thunderstorm threat for sure. And probably, and by probably, I mean like 90% chance, at least like a marginal risk or slight risk in there for certain areas in this type of scenario if it plays out this way. For this specific date, we are seeing probably the warmest temperatures so far, as we are just seeing this warm air just funneled into this area. So keep that in mind for late next week. That could be a possibility. As we move towards Sunday afternoon, we see these storms kind of key in on the eastern states, as we have clearly a line of thunderstorms moving eastward. Very, very cold air moving in behind this frontal area. So this is going to give way to very cold air. Obviously, when you see the warmth surging all the way up into Maine and Canada there, and then we see the cold air behind it surging all the way southward towards like Dallas, Fort Worth area, we know that this is going to be a stark difference in temperatures and really create a lot of contrast, which is just instability. I mean, that's just going to be crazy amounts of instability. So this is Sunday afternoon on the 16th. As we move towards Monday afternoon, we could see it's kind of just past the eastern seaboard. So this eastern seaboard risk, if it stands like this is 8 a.m. on Monday, would likely be lessened by the fact that it's happening so early in the morning. Typically, the worst of your events are going to be happening at like 3, 4, 5 p.m. Whoever gets these storms at 3, 4, 5 p.m. is getting the peak intensity, because we're getting the warmth of the sun of the day, the peak humidity and temperatures. Typically, these overnight events, especially this time of year where it's generally cold, is going to lessen the chance for severe weather overall, especially in the more northern areas. As we keep going, we see that cold moves through briefly, and we already are seeing a warming trend a couple of days later by Thursday here on the 20th, where we get another plains low, plains Midwest-ish. We're getting snowfall from Colorado through Kansas and Nebraska and a little bit into Iowa and Minnesota here. And we're starting to get some thunderstorms popping up underneath and out ahead of this low. As we move forward a couple of hours, we see this really develops here. It moves up into past the Great Lakes, really. It's between the Hudson Bay and Great Lakes. And we see this stretching cold front again. So once again, we would be watching for thunderstorms and severe weather along this area where you have the surging warmth up the east, and you have encroaching cold coming in from the west. As long as we stay in this pattern, we're going to continuously keep seeing systems moving in like this. Really intense stuff as far as severe weather, especially this early on in the season. GFS model, we're just going to kind of glance through. We see our initial low right there. It does bring a lot more snowfall than the European model shows for the plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, even the Mid-Atlantic. So that's something we're going to be watching. We get this same quiet period before we get this major low popping off sometime around Friday here. And again, we've talked about this yesterday, but it's impressive how close the two models are in intensity. This is a 977. I don't know what the European model showed, but it was something like 976, 977, 978. So to be at beyond 5 days, around the 7-day mark, maybe even beyond, and seeing this much agreement on the models for intensity and location is pretty crazy. And we do see plenty of severe weather on this model as well. So really, we're getting perfect agreement almost. And that moves through with almost the same timing. The only difference I could see here is that this trough extends way further south and is way more intense between the 17th and 18th. As we keep going, we get another system moving through, bringing some perhaps thunderstorms and severe weather to parts of the Midwest, deep south, Ohio Valley, and then eventually the Mid-Atlantic there. Around Thursday, Friday, 20th, 21st. And then at the end of the model run, this is kind of what we're left with. Big question marks. We'll have to wait and see what happens after the 20th, but we have an idea for, the 10th, the 15th, and even a little bit beyond. The 20th and beyond is a bigger question mark that we're going to really need to kind of break down over time. Let's take a look at the total precipitation, and we see that the West is getting amazing amounts. We also see, I think, the middle of the nation is getting a lot more than on previous model runs here as well. And then the east, there's going to be some below, some above average areas, but I would say these areas here are getting the most in the east. So let's check out what the anomalies look like. And sure enough, I mean, we get some below average areas, also up here below average, and then above average more here in the southeast corridor, and then the west through into the north central states, really above. Interesting stuff, guys. Total snowfall in the European model is a total disappointment unless you are in the mountainous west, where you just get hammered with tons of snowfall. The northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes have taken a step back on this model quite considerably. And then for like the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, it is basically nothing here moving through the upcoming pattern, which if the cold and the precipitation don't line up, I think this is what we would end up with, because it's very limited the amount of days that we have as far as cold air. There's no precipitation during those times. You're going to be seeing the precipitation during those very warm days, and obviously that will not be snowfall, maybe not even for the mountains. So definitely going to be possible but tricky to see snowfall in this upcoming pattern for the east. GFS model does cash in on a little bit more in these northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes areas, and also a lot of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast cash in on a bit more, but the GFS just tends to do that, so nothing unexpected there at all. Storm Prediction Center outlook, this is day one. We have a general thunderstorm risk area for some of the west, so no severe weather expected. Anything is possible, so please, stay informed with what's going on around you, but general thunderstorms are all that's expected for today on Thursday the 6th. For day two tomorrow, we have two of these, Arizona and New Mexico, and then one there for Texas and maybe like half a county in Oklahoma. Again, general thunderstorms possible, or probably likely. And then for the day three, this will be for Saturday, March 8th. This is that little storm that we see slip through the deeper south. That again, it's not a strong low, but there is that chance of thunderstorms. And we do see the general thunderstorm risk extending pretty well across all of the deep south. And then for the marginal risk, where there is a level 1 risk of severe weather, generally isolated severe weather is what we expect in this. We see Texas, Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and then a bit of the Florida Panhandle seeing a little bit more intensive thunderstorms here with some possibility for severe weather. But as of now on the Storm Prediction Center, we're not seeing any major events yet. But of course, the categorical outlooks only go out to 3 days, so we only get like a really near term look. They do have the extended kind of forecast where they try to pinpoint some time frames in the more like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 day range. Sometimes they just don't even post stuff on that though if there's a little bit of uncertainty. So we'll keep you tuned on that, but even if we do have a major event coming up, there's no guarantee that it is going to show up on that extended day range, especially not beyond like 4 or 5 day outlook. So we'll see. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.